Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today, and we're talking about a series near and dear to mine and many others' hearts, and that is Bioshock. In 2019, yes, that long ago, we got the announcement of a brand new Bioshock game from Cloud Chamber Studios. You remember that one? Yeah, we thought we'd probably have that by this point in time, but it looks like we might be waiting another 3-4 years. It's anybody's guess right now, but we have a huge leak here from Jason Schreier of Bloomberg on the future of Bioshock, where the next Bioshock game is, as well as a Bioshock 1 remake that has been shelved for the time being. I got a lot of thoughts because we also have Judas on the way from the man, the myth, the legend, Ken Levine. And is there really a need for a new Bioshock game nowadays if Ken's not behind it? He kind of put the series in a corner with his own skill and storytelling, as we'll identify here today. So there's a lot to be said about Bioshock. I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Fire away down below. Otherwise, if you're new here, you're into what's going on with gaming, consider subscribing. The article is titled, "Next Bioshock Game Changes Leaders After Development Turmoil." Take-Two Interactive Software Incorporated is overhauling parts of the next Bioshock game and shaking up management after senior executives expressed they were unhappy with its development, according to people familiar with the situation. The new Bioshock, which is being produced by Cloud Chamber, recently failed a review by executives at 2K Games, the publishing subsidiary of Take-Two, said the people who weren't authorized to discuss private information and asked to not be identified. The game's narrative was identified as an area that was particularly in need of improvement and will be revamped in the coming months, the people said. This game just reminds me so much of Veilguard's development cycle, where it went through like multiple phases, because one thing that's not included in this article is how job listings were found at Cloud Chamber for what seemed to be a live service game. And when they announced they were working on only one game, and it was Bioshock, and then you had job listings about live service stuff, I feel like this originally was a live service game, then it got gutted, and now it's being turned into a proper Bioshock game, maybe. But what's interesting here is the pain point being the narrative. You gotta be honest with yourselves, right? When you look at all of these insider reports we've covered before, it's always bugs, glitches. Not to say that those aren't an issue here, but it's never the game's narrative that really, truly holds a game up from being released. How often do we read insider reports where they go, your story isn't good enough, go back to the drawing board? Number one, that says a lot of, I think, bad things about the story. But two, it kind of reminds me, I'm going to go left here for many of you who don't track this series, but I'll try to make it make sense. But it's the only thing I can think of. It's Danganronpa. One of my favorite creators in the industry is Kazutaka Kodaka. He made the entirety of the Danganronpa series, Danganronpa 1, 2, and V3. He hasn't made a Danganronpa game since 2017. After he made that game, he went on to create Tokyo Games, which would go on to make a lot of stinkers in my opinion, but finally this year he delivered with 100 Line Last Defense Academy, which, funny enough, was a very Danganronpa-like game. Anyway, without spoiling, because I do think it's peak fiction, Danganronpa V3 puts the series on ice. It is a beautiful, bold ending that just says, you can't do this anymore. You can't. And I really respect when creatives are so skilled in their storytelling that you put companies in corners. Danganronpa is a great selling series, but NIS America, Spike Chunsoft, they've just never been able to get a new one out because I think the story is such a big draw with that franchise, they could never figure it out. And with Bioshock, it requires no explanation at all. The full circle of Bioshock 1 and Infinite, of course we love some Bioshock 2, but Bioshock 1 and Infinite's DLC, that cycle, that's practically unbeatable. You can't add to that. There's no need for a side story. At least in my opinion, it is one of gaming's few perfect stories. That's why, like many of you, myself included, I'm excited at the idea of a new Bioshock, but if Ken's not involved, that's why I'm looking at Judas going, yeah, like that's the next Bioshock. That's the thing I care most about. Simply because while Bioshock has great gameplay, like Infinite, I think is really fun to play. You know, you're zipping around on all these railings, you're dive bombing people, you got great powers, great shooting. Like, I think Bioshock is a very fun series, but you are really there for that story. It is an unbelievably good story. It is the world, it is the atmosphere, all of that fuels the narrative. So it is one of the few games where the story is everything to me. Like, it can be a fun first-person shooter, but that's why for a lot of people, not me though, by the way, because I know Bioshock 2 fans, I know how you roll. I'm not in that ballpark, but a lot of people are like, yeah, Bioshock 2 isn't as great because the story isn't as good, and you just have to lean on the gameplay some more. So this is a long way of me saying Ken has put this series in a corner with his storytelling ability, and I find that to be pretty incredible that executives at the company that's responsible for the conversation of like $80 and $90 video games are like, your story's not good enough. Pretty unbelievable. Let's continue on, though, into the hows and whys. 2K Games subsequently ousted studio head Kelly Gilmore and moved creative director Hogarth de la Plante to a publishing role. In a recent all-hands meeting, Cloud Chamber staff were told that the company needs to become more agile and efficient, familiar words there, leading to worries that layoffs may follow, the people said. I'm not advocating for layoffs, but this makes sense. We just got to look at Xbox. When you're a project in development, in this case, you announced in 2019, it's 2025, you got nothing to show for it. Yeah, like, I understand why a company's going to say we might have to cut our losses here. You lay people off first, then the project goes. So we'll see where that goes. I understand, though, why this is happening in some cases with some projects. Now, 2K did actually respond to this news here. They actually did give Bloomberg a response. They said, we're working hard to set Bioshock up for the best possible future, which alone indicates that there may be multiple Bioshock games on the way. 2K Games said in a response to the questions from Bloomberg, right now, we have a good game, but we are committed to delivering a great one. We are working closely with leadership at the studio to define this path. A spokesperson confirmed the leadership change and added that the company is fully committed to ensuring we deliver a Bioshock game that exceeds the lofty expectations of our fans, which again, really, really tough to do. Like, they're just special people in all creative fields, you know, music, movies, TV, gaming. Ken is one of them. Bioshock is Ken's baby. And the idea that there's going to be someone else to continue that legacy, and the people who were first trying to do it got booted from there. I'm glad they're taking it seriously, but it doesn't really build confidence in whatever they are building here. That a lot of this first leg of the game's life cycle, all those people leading it have been kicked out. But this actually goes beyond 2019. That's when we just heard about it. Jason continues his write-up saying, Bioshock is one of the most successful franchises in gaming with more than 43 million copies sold across 3 games. But 2K Games hasn't released a new entry in the series since 2013's Bioshock Infinite. The 4th Bioshock has been in development for more than a decade and has shifted between multiple studios. So yeah, patience is wearing out here, understandably so. Bioshock Infinite will always be that really jarring situation where the game came out, it sold millions of copies, it was really good, and all of a sudden Irrational Games gets dramatically shrunken down, seemingly putting the series on ice. It's hard to believe 12 years have gone by since Infinite. Just on a side note, I remember playing that game like it was yesterday. Like, I will always remember my first time playing Infinite, just huddled up in my bedroom, lights off, just completely immersed with the world and the story. And what's funny is I've replayed Bioshock 1 so many times. I've replayed Infinite maybe once in the year that it came out. I have not played Infinite in a long time. I played its DLC when it came out, but that was kind of it for me. So I've been due to go back, but part of it, you ever do like self-preservation gaming where you know you love something and you know that love has room to grow if you go back to it? And I know I would feel much more emotional about this news if I go back to Bioshock Infinite, I re-experience and go, man, this is so good. I love another one of these. Like, I don't know. I'm sometimes very protective with the things I love where I'm like, I don't need to add my emotions to the mix here. Now, here's the kicker, right? Obviously, we saw with the NVIDIA leak that there was this Bioshock 1 ray tracing remake. Something was going on with Bioshock 1. And that NVIDIA leak had been a leak Bible for a while. It was a lot like, if I were to draw a line to it, the Bethesda document from the FTC that leaked, where we just had that whole schedule of what's coming up from Bethesda. The NVIDIA leak had everything from so many companies, and one of them was that Bioshock ray tracing remix. 2K Games was also developing a remake of the first Bioshock game, Jason writes, but that was shelved earlier this year, according to people familiar with the plans. This one is like the real bummer, because in this case, it is a lot like a Dead Space 1 remake. Like, the story's there, the whole blueprint is there, you just got to follow it, maybe evolve how expansive Rapture is, right? Like, you know, instead of having loading into levels and having them broken up into pieces, like, Rapture can be one interconnected area. Like, that would be awesome. That would justify the remake on its own, I mean, I think the art style is so evergreen for Bioshock. It looks beautiful still to this day. And I'm talking like back on the original 360, it still looks wonderful. Like just the color direction, the architecture, like it's just a beautiful video game through and through. One of the few non-pixel art games that I feel is truly evergreen. So it's not even about touching up the visuals. Of course, I feel like this game would look beautiful with modern graphics, even more so, but it really is about just the openness, because there were some areas in Rapture that you could look at and say, hey, the team here was smart about how they handled this, and it didn't feel overly confined, but there was more that you could explore. And we got glimpses of that in, like, say, Infinite's DLC, where we got to see parts of Rapture that we never saw before. And when you look at all these different dimensions of Rapture and you think of a modern remake of it, like there was more room to explore here, more areas to see, even more of a world to build, more audio diaries to lay down, of course. Like, I see the potential here, and it's such a shame that it was shelved, because I feel like this reminds me, again, I went back to Veilguard earlier, where like I feel you need to kind of kick the tires on your fans. It's been 12 years, and like, look, us hardcore gamers, we know we love Bioshock. Bioshock is phenomenal. I would love more Bioshock, but how does the general public feel about that? Will they show up for Bioshock? Because what you have to remember is Bioshock 1, 2, and Infinite were in that special time to be a gamer, right? 6 years, you got 3 Bioshock games. Now it's been 12. Do people still care? Are new gamers stepping into the market interested in Bioshock? Do they even know what Bioshock is? And honestly, you could really ask a fair question here. Does Bioshock need to exist when Judas is in development? Especially if Ken can spearhead what ends up being the next Bioshock, right? Like, they have given Ken and his team an abundance of time. And in an interview with my good friend Colin Moriarty, like, Ken did say, he warned 2K when they started, like, he's like, this is going to be a while. This is going to take a while. Like, we're a small team and it's an ambitious game. It's going to take a while. So he knew, and they knew, and they still greenlit a Bioshock game. And so I just wonder, with all these troubles, if there's a moment they go, let's just wait on Ken, you know? So it's just a bummer to see where Bioshock is at right now, but also maybe a blessing in disguise based on that job listing about like live service and monetization and all that stuff. Cause I just, yeah, if Bioshock came back like that, there would be a riot, and I would be right there in front with my pitchfork in hand, cause hell no, brother. But yeah, this is what's going on with Bioshock, and I would love to see a remake. I think that would be the thing I'm most open to. A new Bioshock game, though, I go back to my Danganronpa example. Good luck following that up. Whoever does it, good luck following that up. And it goes back to what I think a lot of storytellers say, which is just sometimes a story's over. That's it. Sometimes, like, there doesn't need to be a fourth, or in this other part of the Bioshock universe, you know, like, it doesn't have to be that. Certainly, like, Bioshock lore introduced these events that can be explored and are exciting and are interesting, but does it lead to as fulfilling of a story and as clear of a vision as Ken laid out with Bioshock 1 to Infinite? Hard to say. So that's all I've got for you, ladies and gentlemen. Just some thoughts on the future of Bioshock. Let me know yours down below, how you're feeling about things. Other than that, take excellent care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.